we go.
Hello, YouTubers and YouTubettes. It's your man, J. Ray, a.k.a. Jamal. I've got my man, Antoine Victor, across from me.
In the back.
My dude, Jon Ryser, representing all of the developers in the building. Cheers to that. This is Nerds with Beers. So, there's a really important question in this that a lot of people want to know, John. And this is it's highly technical. I don't want to hit you with the hard stuff, but seriously, Star Wars or Star Trek?
Man,
it's a great question.
For the
right?
We have to be qualified first.
Star Wars.
That's like the geek.
Stars?
Star Wars.
For the but for the thinky thing, Star Trek. So it kind of depends on your mood. I'm a nerd, man. I play little video games on my phone.
Sometimes you want to see shit get blown up, right?
A Star Trek one and a Star Wars one.
That is the best nuanced answer I've ever heard.
Do the games follow along with your analogy there? Is the Star Wars game more
Yeah.
and the Star Trek game is more a thinking game,
the Star
strategy?
Wars one, you go like kill a guy and he kills him.
Right.
And the Star Trek one, you have to get
solve
material.
Exactly, and that is the difference, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I love Star Wars.
Except for J.J.
I love
Abrams.
Star Trek.
J.J. Abrams is trying to change that.
He's
right?
trying to make it all
more.
He's trying to Star Warsize
Yeah.
it.
That last Star Trek movie was much more.
What was the last Star Trek?
Exactly right. But
That was the Cumberbatch. The Cumberbatch.
Who? What?
That sounds dirty.
Benedict
You did what on our?
I don't even know if I'm
shouldn't
saying
say
his
that.
name right. All right, so John, as far as Agile is concerned.
Wait, John, where do you work? What do you do?
Oh, yes, sure. Let's give people an introduction.
I'm Jon Ryser. I am a senior applications developer at AT&T.
AKA a nerd.
AKA nerd, right.
What are the cool type though?
So yeah, that's my title.
He also plays in an awesome band, so he's,
As I said, the cool type.
Yeah, exactly. So you're familiar with Agile. You're familiar with Waterfall. Have you ever been in a situation where you're on a team that's implementing Agile from Waterfall?
Agile Fall,
Thank you.
Water Scrum.
Exactly,
Yeah, we've done that a lot.
Can you elaborate on how that process worked for you and what the obstacles were?
So I found there's a lot of energy trying to turn everything into Agile. Right. Agile is the cool catchphrase.
Yeah.
Somebody told everybody up higher that, man, it would be way more productive if everything is Agile. Agile makes things go faster.
I heard Agile was faster.
Yeah.
It's taking you so long.
Totally.
We've been doing Agile for a month. Why am I making more money?
Cancel this project.
So it's been mandated that everything will be Agile.
Right.
So, but you have these huge projects that are like, well, here's all the design phase, and we're going to get it to deploy here.
Right.
And we're going to use the Agile process to do that. In my understanding of Agile, if you do a sprint Agile, right, sprint Scrum,
Right.
every sprint should be deliverable.
Yes.
Right?
Thank you.
Now, what happens? Well, it's not deliverable. We just made some chores that we were going to get done by this deadline.
Right.
But
We think we're done.
Yeah, but a lot of them we had to hand off to here. And it's not like, oh, it's deliverable, and, we might throw it away because we rebuilt it. So none of that happens. And so it's really just waterfall, and then they're like, oh, did we get it done by the deadline?
2-week waterfalls. Right.
Right, totally.
That's actually a perfect answer. Okay, so that actually brings me to my next question. So do you think that there's people teams who think they're Agile, but they're actually still kind of waterfallish?
No, that never happens. Shut your mouth. That's blasphemy.
See, so if I go to a stand-up in the morning, right, and
Do you sit down at the stand-up?
Sometimes I'm driving.
Right.
But if I'm in stand-up, if I go through Scrum and I go through a sprint and I do Agile process, then I must be doing Agile, right?
You must be. You stood
Right.
up.
I must be, right? Even though I may not have had any deliverable by the end of every sprint. And so
It's riddled with defects, but we did a sprint. We're Agile.
Yeah, I finished the sprint. At the end of the sprint, I was able to do a demo and say, we did these things, right? So it's Agile, right?
See, That's
and
exactly.
And that's so to answer
So
your question.
at the end of your
that's
sprint,
what a
you were
lot of
able
guys
to do a demo of new features, though.
No.
Oh, no. Okay.
A demo of what I did.
Oh.
Right. So you
Wait.
could say-
So,
you
here's
could
the
say-
lines of code that I wrote. It doesn't really do shit
Yeah,
yet, but here's the
right.
lines of code.
Yeah. Here's what I was kind of working on. And this
It's
is
not
what
done
we'll-
yet.
Yeah.
One day, sometime soon, it'll do something like this.
Right. And so lots of people feel like because they've gone through that process that they're doing Agile.
Right.
Because they can do a burn down report.
Burn down chart, yeah.
They go, see,
I'm agile.
right?
But your understanding of Agile, they're not truly Agile. Because in our experience, we come across a lot of organizations who think they're Agile, not going to name any names, and then when we ask them key questions about how they're implementing their Agile methodology,
You're like, oh, we don't do it like that here.
Right.
No, we do something different.
Right.
Well, what you're doing sounds like waterfall. No,
Right.
we're agile.
Right.
We just do it our own way.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure that that's not our imagination. You've
Yeah.
experienced that as well.
Yeah. Yes, but I see a lot of, just to vent a little bit. I mean,
Please
I see
do.
especially
Please
that sprint thing, and they're locked into sprints, and they
Right.
lock it every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks. We're gonna have a sprint, and I was looking a bit at Kanban as well, and it's like that seems to make way more sense as far as a sprint as an agile process.
Big fan of Kanban. Right here.
Totally, right? And then you throw a sprint in when you need to sprint. You know, when I need to get things done. Okay, let's create some sprints and get this stuff done. Otherwise, Kanban is you can if you have the bandwidth. You know? Right?
What I like about the Kanban boards is that it allows you to visualize the work that you're doing, right? So I think Kanban is great for visualization, but what it lacks if you do Kanban only and you don't combine it with Scrum or Agile or something is it lacks kind of the structure, right? You have a backlog of things that you need to get done, and you can visualize the stuff that's getting done moving down the swim lanes, but the stuff that's not moving, you don't really have any insight to why it's not moving or what the holdup is or any of that type of stuff. And so that's one of the things I really like about Agile is that Agile provides an opportunity to do sprint planning if it's done correctly. You plan your sprint, and if you fail at the end, if you're doing it correctly and checking your metrics, you know what failed and why it failed, that your estimates were wrong. With Kanban, you visualize it, but I think you need more than that. Like, is that your experience as well, or like on the Kanban board, do you find that things are stuck there that don't move along very well?
I mean, I don't. I think a lot of that hugely depends on the team.
Yeah, that's
you know?
true. I
It's
agree.
like if you have a team and like people who go, well, we need these done. You know, these are priorities. We got to get that done. So maybe you've created a whole bunch of things that are sitting kind of in the, waiting to get done section. Yeah, but they're there for a reason, and we're recognizing they need to get pulled into there. If you have people on the team who are like, hey, we need to pick these up, then it happens. I mean,
Understood.
it's the process cannot be a substitute for a good team.
True.
You know?
I 100%
Well
agree with
said.
that. Yeah.
I love that. Now,
If your
we were-
team sucks, it doesn't matter what process you apply.
Yeah,
You're still going to suck.
Right? We were talking about governance earlier
Governance,
before we started recording. And you were actually part of a governance team. You were the code police. Is that correct?
I was the captain of the code cops.
So, in your opinion, what is the biggest obstacle to implementing governance effectively?
It's like a police force,
Right.
And you need to have some teeth. So if you set down rules, then how do you get people to abide by those?
Okay.
So you need
Stop and frisk.
Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, that deserves a cheers. All right.
Yeah. So
Please
you,
continue.
so
Sorry,
you
couldn't
need somebody with teeth, some leadership to back it up, so that when you say to teams, no, you need to do things this way, and you can't proceed until you do that. That is the biggest obstacle.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you think it's possible for developers to police themselves and do their own governance, or does it need to be an effort that is structured and that actually has like somebody that's leading the charge?
I think it really depends on the size of the organization.
Okay.
You know,
And the team, right?
yeah, and the team, absolutely.
Hand back to that.
Yeah, I was dealing with a huge organization. You know,
Right.
you had this huge team over here, and you had that huge team, like extremely different. You know, business and consumer, like totally different. All of them trying to come together,
Right.
and use the same code base, right? And so, man, can you just say, well, guys, govern yourselves? Right?
You all play nice together.
Right.
I
Yeah,
think-
we're good.
I
Thank
think
you.
we're okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
Just like if I bring your check.
Yep.
Sure.
Here you go.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Please continue.
Yeah, I don't know. Blah, blah, blah. Girl.
The bill derailed the train of thought. Were you talking about the size of the team and
Oh, yeah.
the,
Yes,
the
yes, yes.
difficulty in
Yeah,
implementing
yeah.
governance?
So, yeah, can you self-govern?
That was my question.
And
Exactly. yes.
and I think a team can.
Yeah.
Um,
If they're not assholes.
Yeah.
If they're assholes going in, doesn't matter what's going on.
but
They're still gonna
even
be
I found even within that team, you have to sit down and agree on something. If you want within a large organization, a bunch of teams to work together, you do need to have some source that says, hey, when you put stuff together, it's got to kind of go like this.
Right.
And I experienced a lot. You got this. Developers are artists, you know,
Right.
and this guy's like, man,
Everybody does it
I
their own
write
way,
it this
right?
way,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's like that's wonderful. But when you hand that code to that guy, he needs to be able to pick it up and read it, plug it into his thing quickly.
You got to jam with the
Right.
rest of the band,
Right,
man.
so you
you
gotta
can't play to
kinda-
your own tune.
Right. And so I
wasn't
think
wasn't that you that told me you're writing code and or actually no, you have to go in and write code for some code. So you have to fix some code that was written a year ago, and you go into that code and you're like, what is going on here? This doesn't make any sense. And then you have to fix it. And the person that wrote it, what a moron! The person that wrote it was you. Is that you that told me that? So you've actually you experienced that firsthand.
oh yeah.
Yeah, you
I
don't
think
you
every-
don't know now, or you don't know then what you know now.
Yeah, every developer does that. You look back on your old code and you're like, oh, and I thought I was so smart.
Right? Yeah, I was such an asshole back then. I had no idea what the hell I was doing.
So with the implementation of Agile and DevOps, is it something that, technologically speaking, is going to be expensive monetarily? Or is it something that can be done at low cost? And let's just say in, for a small organization, medium organization, comparatively speaking.
I think it can be done at low cost. We don't always witness that because basically what you're doing is you're imposing process, right? And so the general idea with process, right, is like I need administrators, and so you start adding administrators to it to keep track of stuff and generate those reports, and that adds a whole bunch of
TPS
costs.
reports.
And actually,
Right, you know?
that's actually a question for both of you. I want to get both of your opinion on that.
I agree. I mean, if you do it correctly, there doesn't have to be a lot of cost. We're talking about Agile at a team level, right?
Right.
I'm not talking about a full enterprise-wide DevOps transformation. But for a small two-pizza team to implement Agile, we're talking about adding some processes, you know, and I'm fond of saying you don't have to solve all the world's problems in the first sprint. It doesn't have to be perfect the first time,
Right.
But I don't think you should be making up your own rules either. Like, oh, we're going to just keep doing it the way we did it before, but we're going to call it a sprint. Now we're Agile.
Right.
No, like, you read the Scrum guide, follow the rules, try them out for 6 to 10 sprints, and see if
6 to 10
doing it
sprints.
the proper way actually works out for you. And if I'm being honest, there's certain scenarios where it doesn't work out. Like, I won't say it doesn't work out, but it's much more difficult to implement. Like in the case of hardware, like if you're
Oh,
a
sure.
hardware manufacturer or chip
Right.
manufacturer, you're writing some software for the hardware. You might have some issues doing 2-week sprints and doing things the way that the Agile and Scrum talks about doing them. But for a software team, if you're a 6 to 10 person team and you start doing daily stand-ups and doing sprints and really discussing what's going well and what's not going well and trying to improve your process, that's really all we're talking about, right? When you talk about Agile, we're talking about do a couple of weeks, talk about how fucked up that was. It didn't go well at all. What can we do to improve it? Okay, next time we're not going to do that. We're going to do this. And then you do that for 2 weeks. And if that shit doesn't work out, then you make some changes. But you're continually improving the process.
Wait
And you
a
should be able to
minute.
do that at low cost.
Wait a minute. Am I hearing both of you agree that it's not terribly expensive?
It doesn't have to be.
Oh, cheers to that. Come on, let's go. Nerds and beers right here. That's good to hear. The reason I ask is because, when you're trying to convince somebody who may not be familiar with the parameters and complexity of implementing Agile, in order to convince them, maybe a good selling point is going to be, look, we're not saying you have to throw a bunch of money at it. We just need a cultural change.
And that's right. It's if you can get your team to adopt the philosophy, and then they step into the process, your team can run all that.
Yeah.
And isn't that part of Agile? Is you should be able to create tasks. You should have a team that can go pick up all the
self-organizing
aspects.
teams.
Right. So you don't need to say, oh, I need to hire a specific guy who's just a Scrum Master. And that's bureaucracy. And
Yeah.
that can actually slow it down quite a bit. Because you end up with some guys involved who actually don't know what the hell's going on.
Right.
All they
That's a
know
good
is
point,
that
actually.
Scrum process.
Great
Yeah.
point.
That's a very good point you make there. Quite frequently you have Scrum Masters and what do you call them? The product owners that are responsible for the backlog, responsible for facilitating the meetings, but they don't really have much technical depth or knowledge. They don't really have any understanding of the problem domain.
Right.
They understand the process, and they can harp on the process. Oh, this is how it's supposed to be done. But if your team's been doing it some other way, and it's hard for you to switch because of X, Y, Z, or
Yeah.
whatever the testing process is, or
Right.
the architecture that you're using, only you know how to deal with that. So you might take several iterations to resolve those issues and solve those problems. And I think you really need people, stakeholders, team members surrounding you that understand what's going on. So you remember that rant I did on Reddit about the product owners,
the one
and
that you
Scrum
got,
Masters?
everybody got all mad at you
Yeah,
about.
I did this post on Reddit a while back, and I was like, how long do you guys usually spend on sprint planning? Everything that I've read, and in my experience, it seems to be that 2 to 4 hours for every week of a sprint is about the sweet spot for planning. And all these product owners and Scrum Masters, I didn't know that at the time, but all these product owners and Scrum Masters, non-technical product owners and Scrum Masters are like, that's ridiculous. It shouldn't take that long at all. You should spend more than this, like an hour or two.
Right.
And I was like, how could you possibly do task level planning and get buy-in from all the different team members in an hour for 2 weeks worth of work?
Really
That's
dig
never
into
gonna
what the
happen.
issue is. Right.
And then after a couple of responses back and forth, they were like, oh, well, I usually leave the room, or I get kicked out of the room before that happens. Because they're non-technical and they have no value to add.
And that's the expense, right? Because you got this guy, like, what did he really contribute?
Right.
You're paying him full-time wage, right?
Right.
And he got kicked out, and he's just hanging out, man.
Right? So I say chain that mofo to the desk. Make him stay in there and learn some shit.
Right.
You're not valuable yet because you don't understand the problem domain.
Make him do some dev when he's not being that,
Right.
number.
Get paired up with somebody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a perfect transition into my next question. This is going to wrap it up, guys. I just have one more for you. Okay, let's get through this.
Okay.
So,
I'm in.
do you guys think that in this new paradigm of Agile and DevOps being the contender in application development, do testers need to learn more and maybe do more on the development side than they're currently doing?
Not just the testers. Everybody. Developers.
Yeah, man.
Resistance is futile. Infrastructure, security, auditing, compliance, testers, analysts, you will all be developers.
Okay.
Or you'll be automated out of a job.
How much time have you spent
Okay, I'm
with a
just
tester? But how much time have you spent with a tester really just walking them through it?
I've
and really
watched
going,
you do that.
honestly just did the testing
Right? What do I...
with you. And like, yeah,
Sorry,
and again,
testers.
that's more expense. Right?
That's why I was afraid to bring that. I don't want to insult the testers.
That's almost like talking
But
about
I've watched you
politics right
spend
now.
a whole day
although,
with a tester.
although I love my testers that I've dealt with. They're
They're
really
the best.
great people.
Right.
They work hard with me.
Nice cleanup, John. Appreciate that. So let me do my little piece to clean that up too. I'm teaching creating a test plan class this week, actually, talking to a few testers.
Right.
So I won't link to this video. But no, I'm just kidding. The thing about testing and test automation, if you pair the tester with the developer, and I actually talked about this today.
Yes.
If you pair the tester with the developer for a couple hours a week, you can actually teach that tester how they can at least copy and paste some unit tests. Because in my experience, especially old school developers aren't usually very skilled at unit testing and tester and development.
Right.
Like in my day, we didn't do tests. Like tests, security. I'm done. I'm going to Tahoe. That's somebody else's job. We toss that shit over the fence down the delivery pipeline, and somebody else has to deal with that. But now, how's the phrase go? We want to shift left in quality. As if the assembly line runs left to right. We want to put the quality checks before all the heavy dev and the deployment out to QA. So developers kind of have to participate in that. And I think the QA team that typically doesn't have much to do the first iteration where we haven't built anything yet, we can have them paired with the developer and show them this is what a unit test that accepts integers and returns a Boolean looks like. Here's what a unit test that accepts strings and returns a Boolean looks like. Here's where they are in the template folder or whatever. Copy and paste these. Put a note or put a call into the function that we're supposed to be testing. You might not know much more than that because you're not a developer, but you know how to say call this function in this capitalization using Pascal casing or Camel casing, and then put assert, fail, developer do your job. And now they've at least reminded me that I have to go in and write this unit test that I wasn't going to write. Right? So we can pair them up with the developer and get them to do something. I'm filtering. Get them to do something to make them productive in that first sprint when there's nothing for them to do, and then later on they can focus on automation. They're not going to get automated out of a job because every time the features change, every time the requirements change, you've got to go back and update the scripts. So test automation is going to have to constantly be massaged. So quite frequently when I do these automated testing classes, they're like, this sounds like I'm getting automated out of a job. No, the scripts are never solid forever. Like every time something changes, you're going to have to go back and automate it. Yeah. But the idea is that you're able to run them over and over and over again and get the same results if nothing's broken. And if something's broken, that shit runs automatically. All you're doing is looking for the changes. So you automate yourself out of the shitty job that you used to have, and now you're focused on increasing the level of quality.
That's my point.
Go testers.
That's my point exactly. Because look, testers, they're not. Their job is hard. They do a lot of stuff, and I think that they actually have the aptitude to go a little further. They just haven't had the opportunity.
Well, I think it's in their best interest also.
Exactly, absolutely. So
they can stop the shit from flowing downhill way up the hill. They don't have to deal with it 2 days before release.
And that's why I wanted to ask you guys.
Staying up all night.
Come on, you know, I wanted to make sure it wasn't my imagination because that's just, it seems like, especially with DevOps and Agile, that's going to need to happen sooner or later.
Yeah, you can't be doing manual tests that take 2 weeks. That's not Agile.
There you go. That's not Agile. You don't do Agile. Too many bitches. You don't do Agile, you are Agile. Correct?
Right.
Saloon, let's go. Hey you guys, thanks for watching. It's Nerds with Beers right here on Professional Data Management or wherever you might be watching.
Nerds with beers and pizza.
And pizza. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.
And special thanks to our guest, Jon Ryser.
Jon Ryser.
Right on.